into who killed Charlie Kirk is naturally disparaging. And hey, you accepted our money, you took our money for years while Charlie Kirk was alive, so we're executing on this. You're not allowed to disparage us for another 12 months since we canceled that agreement. So the letter reads, and I'm Xing out the beginning parts that just says like LLC names and stuff. And I'm also not going to reveal their lawyers' names. I don't think it's necessary. On video calls on December 4th, 2025, this was obviously pertaining to us ending our contract, our termination. We terminated our contract. And December 15th, I requested a retraction of Ms. Owens Farmer's disparaging statements and again provided notice that the injuries caused by her statements are substantial and continuing to accrue. Ms. Owens Farmer has declined to issue a retraction. To the contrary, she has stated that she, quote, doesn't feel any differently about people that she mentioned on the show, and she thinks that there are shady people at Turning Point USA. Yeah, so I guess I didn't know this, but I was supposed to, according to them, when we had that meaningful discussion, which I was appreciative that we had this open book discussion. I sat down with Erica and Justin Strife, but that I was supposed to come out and say they're amazing and nobody and everybody didn't do nothing. Like, that's it. Like, they're wonderful people. Like, why would I change my mind because we had a discussion? I came out and I told the truth and things that were answered. And actually what ended up happening was you conceded points to me. Anyways, it goes on. As a consequence, her statements are continuing to cause harm to Turning Point USA. We are currently working to calculate the full extent to date of the still accruing damages. Okay, so someone's with a calculator and they're calculating. I'm wondering if there's a spreadsheet running of the damage that's being done by Turning Point USA themselves. Like Andrew Colvett, if we're going to sue anybody for accruing damages, like if I'm running the company, I'd go with Andrew Colvett first. Brian Harpole, that's a lot happened there with that car crash interview. Am I being punished because you lied? And I realized it or something, and somehow we have this contract that we've had for years, and now it's like, well, you're not allowed to see us do anything bad because remember, we paid you. Goes on, in my December 2nd letter, I highlighted Ms. Owens' Farmer's ongoing contractual obligation not to make any disparaging, false, misleading, or otherwise defamatory comments about Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliate programs, or services. See speaking agreement, blah, blah. Owens Farmer freely undertook this obligation in exchange for payment by support from and access to Turning Point USA. Her obligation remains in effect for 12 months following the term of her agreements, which were terminated on December 2nd, 2025. Since that letter, Turning Point USA's executives have repeatedly made themselves available via phone, text, and in-person meetings to provide information and documentation. That's just not true. I mean, I'm speaking to one person at Turning Point USA, and we had that sit down. To Ms. Owens Farmer in the hopes that providing her with the truth would get her to stop disparaging Turning Point USA in violation of the parties' contracts. Yet, notwithstanding the reminder that my letter provided to Ms. Owens Farmer of her obligations and the good faith efforts made by Turning Point USA's leadership to answer her many questions, she has continued to make statements in violation of her contractual obligations in a manner that is reckless, knowing, and intentional. For example, she has published a list of lies that she attributes to Turning Point USA, and she has stated that there is definitely financial impropriety at the company. Which lie on our Turning Point USA list of lies did they correct? Nothing. They gave an excuse for the lies, and I told the public about the excuse. They said Andrew went rogue. Andrew did this. I don't know why he said that. I don't know why they said that. They have conflicting answers about the drones. Brian Harpole says this. Andrew Colvett says this. Their lawyer says that. So what am I doing wrong by tracking that? Isn't the issue that you lied not the issue that the public noticed? There's not a single thing that they cleared up that I then said, oh, okay, I just completely had that wrong on our list of lies. They conceded. Erica came out and said, Charlie, I had his phone. He never said the night before that he was afraid he was going to die. She said that on Glenn Beck. They then get in front of me. They say, okay, yeah, no, he did. I didn't know because it was in a special, app. Yeah, he also messaged Dan Flood. I didn't know because we're not talking to Dan Flood. Okay. What am I missing here? This next sentence sends me. She has claimed to know that there are people at Turning Point USA who are not good people, and has suggested that Turning Point USA and tpusa Faith have been infiltrated by military operatives. Yes, I do know there are people at Turning Point USA who are not good people. I stand by that. It's the truth. I specifically said Tyler Boyer was a sexual deviant. I stand by that. It's the truth. Turning Point USA Faith, the military. I'm sorry I looked up these people. I'm sorry that Rob McCoy is out there defending somebody who went to prison for molesting kids. The issue is I noticed, again, where is the lie that I have told? Let's see if we're going to get to it. Moreover, it continues, she has accused a Turning Point USA employee of being intentionally evasive in an effort to clear Erica Kirk's name, specifically as to whether Ms. Kirk was at Fort Huachuca in or around an alleged secret meeting that Ms. Owens Farmer has linked to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now, I told the truth. I said that I requested this multiple times over weeks, and each time I was given an excuse. That's just the truth. I was told she was really busy, and then she popped up at a game, and I said, hey, can I get something? And they sent me something that wasn't what I asked for. So that's just the truth. And then said that it was on me last week because I had my son's birthday and family in town that I was going to send you a screen record of what I actually wanted. And I said, maybe it's because there's a third party there. It's not clear. But to date, they haven't sent me what I asked for. So I told the truth. In short, Ms. Owens Farmers has not put an end to what she has expressly admitted to be a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA, people at Turning Point Action, and people who work for the Charlie Kirk show. Yeah, I'm sorry, Andrew Cole, that sucks. My December 2nd letter, it continues, emphasize that Ms. Owens Farmer must cease her disparaging comments. And this letter reiterates that obligation that includes, in part, ceasing to state or imply that Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliates, programs, or services played any part in Mr. Kirk's assassination. Ms. Owens Farmer must not state or imply that Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliates, programs, or services knew about the assassination beforehand, participated in the assassination day of, or covered up the truth about the assassination after the fact. Okay. That's it. That's the guts of the letter. Now, I've been very clear that there's only one reason, again, kill me for having common sense, that people lie. Why do people lie? Because they're covering something up. There's no other reason to lie, actually. You could be pathological, I suppose. You could just do it for funsies. But when you consistently tell lies, it's usually because you're covering up something. Even if it's a small lie, my kid tells a little fib, it's because they're covering up something that they don't want you to find out, right? So because Turning Point USA is lying, it is a totally fair and reasonable assessment that they are engaged in a cover-up. Now, are they protecting one another, their mistakes that they made? Are they trying to protect the organization because they know there are some bad eggs, loyalty to one another because they knew each other, going back a decade, blackmail again? Who knows? I can't tell you why, but I can say that when people lie, it's because they're engaged in a cover-up. And that is something I'm going to stick by, an opinion I'm going to stick by, actually. So now regarding the broader point about financial impropriety, which being financially improper is not a crime, right? If you have a charity and actually only 1 cent out of $1 actually goes to what you say it's going to go to, it's not illegal, right? I'm not saying that's the case Turning Point USA. We've barely covered their finances, actually. But I think that what they want is your money. So I'll make amends. Everybody watching, give all of your money to Turning Point USA. They are amazing. They are above board. They do nothing wrong. They're not focused on money. They just want yours. If you are watching this, please, if you have a 401k, consider giving that to Turning Point USA. If you're watching this, please, if you're saving up to take your kids to a theme park, instead think about parking that money with Stacey Sheridan and Tyler Boyer and Erica Kirk at Turning Point USA. If you've got a grandma and she's frail and she's sick, consider rewriting her will and giving it to Turning Point USA. It will go to a very good cause. There's always a need for more pyrotechnics. If you are trying to pay down your credit card, maybe don't do that and try to do a monthly payment instead to Turning Point USA.